It's good to be with you this morning. I'm glad that you are here with us. We do have visitors with us, and I'm glad that you're here. It's already been said. We're always happy to have visitors with us. We have several out today. I guess holiday tomorrow, and our young people were out of school this past week, so I suppose some took advantage of that. If you have your Bibles, I invite you to open it to Psalm 23. Psalm 23. I asked Cliff to lead the psalm this morning. I wanted us to get our minds and thoughts tuned to what we're going to be talking about this morning. This morning we're talking about in the stressful world we live. What do we do with sickness and grief? In John 16:33, John reported, "These things I have spoken to you, that you may have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." The stressful world we live in, and I would dare say most of us would agree, we live in a very stressful world. We're surrounded by wickedness from the world itself. But there are things that happen to us that cause stress in our lives. There's our jobs. Many times our jobs are very stressful and they cause us to worry and to have thoughts of giving up sometimes and what can I do and woe is me. There's the health problems that come upon us. There's the problem of death that occurs from time to time in every family. This morning's lesson I preached a couple of weeks ago, I guess it has been now, at the Hinesville lecture. They were dealing with stress and how to handle stress in this world. Over the past few months, I've been contemplating some things that my class knows of a sermon that either I or Jason Paget will preach on Super Bowl Sunday. We're determined for that still. And it's talking about how people are looking to the Lord and not looking to the Lord. In Psalm 23, the psalmist David started out saying, "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." Now my question to you this morning is, the Lord your shepherd? Now I'm not talking about, well, I'm a Christian, so the Lord's my shepherd. I'm asking you to think to yourself, is the Lord my shepherd? If the Lord is not truly your shepherd this morning, you need to make some changes in your life. If you're not a child of God, you need to obey the gospel of Christ and become a child of God so that the Lord can be your shepherd. If you're a child of God, but you're playing at being a Christian, or you're a part-time Christian, the Lord is not your shepherd. And you need to have the Lord as your shepherd. Well, Rowley, I obey the gospel. I'm a Christian. That's good. But that's not enough. That's just the start. If the Lord is not your shepherd, in this world that we live in, this stressful world we live in, you are going to struggle. You're going to struggle more than you have to. We think about sickness and grief. Sickness and grief come to all in one way or the other. It doesn't matter what age we are. It doesn't matter what race we are. It doesn't matter what sex we are. Stress and grief, sickness and grief come to us in our lives. If you're not truly able to say, the Lord is my shepherd, then you're going to have some problems with these things. Now, I'm going to say some things about myself and my family this day, and don't think I'm trying to glory in what I'm saying. I'm not. I'm just using myself as an illustration, and I don't like to do this, but some of y'all know over the last year, there have been some problems in my life. the hurricane last year, I lost almost total hearing in my left ear. Had to have surgery the 1st of December to try to get something to help me hear some, and it works part-time. The end of that month, I injured my back, and it's been giving me problems ever since. I've been scheduled for surgery, taken off for surgery. Some people said, well, you're surely not going to Bible camp this year. My answer to them was, why wouldn't I go to Bible camp this year? You see, if we give in to stress and grief, Satan is one. We're going to see some things here in a few moments as to where grief and death, where do they come from? Well, what are some causes of sickness and grief? We'll look at that in just a moment. But you see, the things I'm talking about that I've had to deal with this past year, people say, well, you don't need to do this. You don't. Well, I can't do everything I once did, but friends, I'm not saying this for y'all to say, well, he's holding himself. I don't mean that. I just want us to see, if we don't have our hearts and our minds tied to God, then we're going to give up on things. I appreciate the help everybody's given me. I appreciate the help the men have given me when I needed to be off for a Sunday or whatever it was. But friends, as we think about what God wants us to do, can we truly say, the Lord is my shepherd? Because if you can't say the Lord is your shepherd, then you're going to give up when trials, when sickness, when grief comes to you. Y'all know that in July every year we go back to Kentucky, and as I said in high school, if y'all would like to stand up and put your hand on your heart and face north, that'd be fine with me. But my brother-in-law died. And I had to do his funeral. I got to do his funeral. That grief is still there. But I know he's in heaven. He was a faithful child of God. I know he was in heaven. When I preached his funeral, I got totally off my outline, and I preached for about 30 minutes about the Lord and what the Lord had done for us, because I knew this is where my brother-in-law's faith rested. It rested with God. I talked to him about his soul before he died. He knew he was going to die. He wasn't exactly sure of the time, but he knew it wasn't going to be long. We talked about his soul. He was ready. He was a faithful child of God. The Lord was his shepherd. See, he could face that. If we're not truly able to say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, then we're going to have trouble when those times come. Now, what are some causes of sickness and grief? Let's look at least 4 things here. First of all, there's ignorance. For instance, you can drink some bad water, you can eat some bad food, and it make you sick or even kill you. That's one of the causes of these things. Then there are accidents. Sister Libby, James was telling me, Sister Libby hurt her knee on Saturday, I think it was, James, did you say? Friday. She had to go to the hospital. She's going to be okay. But you see, she had an accident. She injured herself. I injured myself last year. Well, that's part of life. Those things happen. Then there's living in this world we live in. You hear of a child that has AIDS. You hear somebody used to, you hear every once in a while, I haven't heard it in a long time, of somebody getting a transfusion and getting AIDS from the transfusion. But that's a sinful world we live in. And then there can be the sin of others that can cause us sickness and grief. Someone can do something. I read a story this past week of where somebody at a McDonald's, a policeman came in and he put a cleaner of some sort in the man's sandwich and made the man sick for a week. That's the sinful world we live in. That's the sins of others. The drunk driver killing a family. Those are things that surround us. But you say, but I'm a child of God. These things shouldn't happen to me. We're human beings. And we're in this world. And in this world, these things are going to happen to us. But I understand this. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's the root cause of all this. But sickness and grief will either make us draw closer to God, or it will cause us to lose our faith and doubt God for the rest of our lives. The sign you see there on the screen, hopefully it's on the screen, lost and confused. I deal with people who have this all the time in their lives. Because I believe, and you say, well, you judge not lest you be judged. Again, you read that whole chapter, we're to make righteous judgments. When I see a so-called family of God and they're lost and confused, they don't know what to do in a situation, and they seem to be running from God, then I know the Lord is not their shepherd. When there's stress in your life, you need to get closer to God. You need to be a student of His Word. You need to put God in your life. If you're not doing that, then the Lord truly is not your shepherd. You say, Riley, this is a very, very hard thing that you're saying. Well, yes, it is. But I want us to understand something. If the Lord is not our shepherd, we will not hear those words, well done, thou good and faithful servant. And I want us all to go to heaven. I want you to know this. Everyone in the sound of my voice, anyone who will hear this on the internet when it's posted, anyone who will listen to the CD, I want us all to go to heaven. And unless the Lord is truly our shepherd, we're not going to get to go. And before we go on to the lesson, I want to read a little more in Psalm 23. He said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Notice, He maketh me to lie down by the still waters. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. That's what God can do for us. God can help us get through these times. There'll be times in our lives when the stress seems like it's about to destroy us, but God is able to get us through those things. But you see, the Lord has to be my shepherd. If I'm not following Him, I'm following Satan. That's the only other alternative. And when I'm following Satan, then I begin to doubt and I fear. I really like Matthew 10:28. Fear not them that can kill the body, but rather fear Him that can kill both soul and body in hell. God can get us through those times. But our shepherd has to be God. We have to let Him lead us. And He can lead us. In those times when stress is so great, we don't know what we're going to do. My mind's about to explode. If God is our shepherd, we know where to go. When you're so stressed out about something, whether it's sickness or grief or any other reason, what's the first thing you do? Oh, woe is me. What am I going to do? Why not put those hands together and pray to God? And take this thing to God. God will help us get through. We're talking about grief. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for Thou art with me. We can face death square in the eye if the Lord's our shepherd. If the Lord's not our shepherd, then when death comes, we're not going to be prepared. We're going to be confused. We're going to be disoriented. Grief is something when someone passes. The song I had with Lee just a moment ago, Tempted and Tried. Death is part of life. We know that. And we're going to lose loved ones. Some of y'all recall, back in the late 90s, I don't recall exactly the year, Susie, my wife, she had some health things going on, and so we went to the doctor, and they told us, after all the tests, she has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's basically a death sentence. That was in September of that year. You see those signs there? For a minute, I didn't know what I was going to do. But then we turned to God. I liked her attitude, and she doesn't like me to say that. She's not here, I'm talking about her today. I liked her attitude. We'll do whatever they say, we'll put our trust in God. That's what got us through that. As y'all know, they found out they were wrong in their diagnosis. It was something called Castleman's disease. They did a surgery, took out the lymph node, and she's been fine. But I remember being told, you look like you're a zombie, Robbie. You're here, but you're not here. You see, I was weaker than she was. Now, we got through that, and it was, I believe, the next January, we lost 4 of our members in 1 month. Now, when they told me Susie was going to die, basically, my feelings, my outlook on life changed. When these people passed away and their loved ones are left, I wasn't in their shoes. I can't say I knew 100% how they felt, but I was more equipped to be able to try to give them some help during those times. But I knew those people, and I knew where their minds and hearts were, because the Lord was their shepherd. So what are the causes of all this suffering? Well, let's look at a few things. Can we know what causes sickness and grief? Can we know totally? Well, we may not always know. Deuteronomy 29:29 is a verse that fits here because it says the secret things belong to the Lord your God. But the things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of the law. There's some things we're just simply not going to know. Proverbs 14:12 says there is a way that seemeth right unto man. We do the best we can in those situations, but if the Lord is our shepherd, we'll get through those times. We'll get through when the sickness comes to us. If you ever hear the doctor say you have cancer, you're going to be faced with a situation in your life. Where are you going to be? Is your trust going to be in God? Is your faith going to be in God? That no matter how it turns out, you're going to be with God. Well, let's look at some causes of human suffering. First of all, sin. Sin is the root cause of all the sickness and all the grief that we have in this world. In Romans 5:12, Paul was writing there. He said, wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, so death hath passed upon all men, for all have sinned. Now you think about it back in the Garden of Eden. There in that Garden of Eden, God created man and woman, and He placed them in that garden, the perfect man and the perfect woman, in a perfect place. And then chapter 3, we find where Satan tempts Mother Eve, and she sins, and sin enters the world, and sin brought all these maladies upon us. The sicknesses, the death, the disease. People say, well, if God's a God of love, He wouldn't allow these things to happen. God is a God of love. Don't ever doubt that. God set the works of nature in order, and nature says if you do certain things, then you're going to become sick. If you do certain things, you're going to be killed or die. I understand it's the same thing, but there's a difference in being killed and dying. You see, sin is a terrible thing. Satan brought that to Mother Eve and tempted her. And sin is the worst enemy of all of us. You think about the sentence of death from a disease. That's terrible. When you know you're terminally ill, you think that's terrible. But what caused that? Sin. Now, you may die from a disease in this world. But if you die in sin, you've lost your soul. And God tells us how to be healed from that. And then there's a person's own sins. In Galatians 6, verses 7 and 8, it says, do not be deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he who sows to the flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap life everlasting. You see, a person's own sins. We may be involved in alcoholism. We may be involved in tobacco. We may be involved in fornication or any other number of sins that you can think of. And because of those sins, the consequences of that can cause us sickness and death. I've talked with people before. I talked with a lady. She had smoked for years and years and years, and she was dying. Her lungs were destroyed. She wished she'd never picked up the first cigarette. You see, the consequences were, though she'd stopped, and though she realized because of the harm she'd done to herself, she'd repented of those things, the consequences were her lungs were still gone. You see, our own sins may cause us human suffering. If the Lord is our shepherd, we're going to do our best to stop those things. We're going to stop those things and turn to God. Then there's something Brother Acuff talked about in his sermon one night while he was here. Testing by God. Testing. Hebrews 11:17 talks about Abraham there. It says, by faith Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, that he had received the promises offered by his when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and that he had received the promises offered up by his only begotten son, of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Now, if you've never studied that, you may not understand. Abraham there, Genesis 22, goes up to Mount Moriah. He takes Isaac with him. They're going to offer a sacrifice. They get there. He places Isaac on the altar. He's about to kill him, and the angel stays his hand. You see, he was being tested by God. And he said, the Hebrew writer tells us why he was willing to go that far. His faith in God was so strong. Notice, accounting that God was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. In his mind, Abraham had already slain his son, but he knew God would bring him back. Abraham's faith was being tested. From time to time, our faith may be tested. I can't tell you when that's happening. But if the Lord is our shepherd, if we're with him where we need to be, we can face that. We can face that test. Suffering and grief helps us to do something else. It helps us to know our true spiritual condition. Psalm 139. Psalm 139, 23 and 24. The psalmist wrote there, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. Anxiety is what version says. And see if there's any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. In this stressful world, how do you face stress? How do you face sickness and death when it comes your way? You see, if the Lord is your shepherd, if your faith is resting solely in him, you can face the worst thing this world has to offer. But if the Lord is not your shepherd, you're going to struggle with this. And then there's God's providence. Genesis 37:36. The Midianites sold him, Joseph, into Egypt under Potiphar, and an officer of Potiphar's, Pharaoh, the captain of the guard. Joseph, by God's providence, was put in a place where he could save thousands, millions of people. But how did it start? It started in a pit. When his brothers put him there, and some would have killed him, they decided to sell him to the Midianites. God's providence working in our lives. Explain providence. I can't explain everything that I know about it to you, but I know it's there. God's providence helps us. But God's providence also, there may be something that happens to us that leads to a different outcome. God's providence. Why am I preaching the gospel? If I've been up to Raleigh, I've been driving a garbage truck in the city of Paducah, Kentucky. I applied for that job. I needed the job to support my family. I wanted that job. The pay was good. The benefits were good. I didn't get that job. I've been working for Ingersoll Rand. They build compressors. One of our deacons worked there. I wanted that job. Why? Because I needed to feed my family. I needed support. I was drawing unemployment. I didn't get that job. I got a job at a food warehouse. I worked at that food warehouse. I didn't like my job. Went on vacation one time. My wife said, why don't we go look at school preaching? 3 months later, I was enrolled in school preaching. Had all my support I needed. How did that happen? God's providence. I didn't see it working at the time, didn't understand it. But you see, God's providence works in our lives. And then we may become sick, we may lose our life going about the Father's business. God's never promised that if you'll work for me and work diligently for me, everything will be rosy. He's never promised that. Our text this morning, John 16:33, these things have I spoken to you, that in me you might have peace. He's talking to his followers. But notice what he said, in this world you shall have tribulation. How are we supposed to face tribulation, Lord? Be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. You see, Christ overcame this world. He can overcome this world. In this world of stress, when we're just so stressed out we don't know what to do, if the Lord is our shepherd, we'll get through. When I get so stressed out, some of y'all know I do. Sometimes I can't sleep. And sometimes I go to sleep praying about situations. And sometimes I can't just shut off. And so sometimes I have to take something just to shut my mind off just for a minute so I can go to sleep. Again, I'm not saying that to look at right. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, when you get so stressed out, turn to God. And there may be times in your life when you need help medically. You need to seek that help. But you need to always seek God first. 2 Timothy 2:3, therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. There are times in doing the Lord's work. I told y'all before, I was in a little place in Alabama, and we were knocking on doors. We came to this little lady. She was hoeing her garden, and that was so sweet. She's out there hoeing her garden. And we told her what we were doing while we were there, and she told us where the sinners lived. They lived about 2 streets over. She also made a phone call to a house. The next house we were going to. It was about a half mile down the road. We pulled up, we got out of the car, and I looked up, and there's this family running towards us as hard as they could run, screaming and hollering, get off our property. I won't repeat everything we said. You see, their intent was to harm us. Things like that can happen going about the Father's business, but we can't stop doing it. Well, this will be the last slide for this morning. But here's my question to all of us. Which box would you check? And you see it's an individual thing. Your family can't, mom and dad can't answer for you, young people. Mom and dad, husband can't answer for you, wife can't answer for you. What box would you check? Sickness and grief is going to draw you closer to God, or it's going to cause you to fall into despair and cause us to doubt God or even lose our faith altogether. Now that box that you just checked in your mind, turn back to Psalm 23. If you can truly say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. We're going to stop there this morning on that song. But if you can say those words, if the Lord is truly your shepherd, then you can face anything that this life has to throw at you. It may be something that's terrible, some disease that you come in contact with. It may even be the death of someone you love dearly. But if the Lord is your shepherd, you can get through those times. This morning, if you're not a child of God, you need to obey the gospel this morning. You need to be immersed in water for the remission of your sins, believing in Christ, willing to confess His name before this assembly, repenting of your sins. Then you need to be immersed in water and have your sins washed away and become part of the family of God so the Lord can be your shepherd. If you're not a child of God, you're like a sheep on a mountain without a shepherd. You're going astray. You need to come to God. If you're a child of God, you realize you've not put your trust in God. And you couldn't truly say this morning, the Lord is my shepherd. Repent of those things. Ask God's forgiveness. If you'd like the church to pray for you, we'll be glad to. Those who need to respond, come down and we stand as we